Hey guys, Fake Rooster here, and today I wanted to talk a bit about my thoughts and some of the information we've had about Battlefield 2042, at least from the time of the beta up till now, and in preparation for the release on Friday, I wanted to give you guys some of my opinions and thoughts as well. If you are a regular viewer of my channel, you may have noticed the videos have become rather sporadic. That's simply because some things are happening in my personal life involving changing jobs, so that has kind of slowed down my uploads, but going forward, especially with the release of 2042, expect videos to start popping up a little bit more regularly on the channel. With that being said, let's get into some of the things I wanted to talk about today on Battlefield 2042. Now, you probably noticed I didn't actually make any videos in the beta. Now that's because of a bug that was happening during the beta, which basically disabled the Xbox DVR ability, so I couldn't actually record any gameplay, as that is my main way of capturing gameplay. Now, this is something that DICE have said since that they are aware of, that they're working on, that is hopefully going to be fixed by the time of launch on Friday, so hopefully we'll get some gameplay going forward. Now, overall, I must say at the top of this, I had fun in the beta. Now, I know there are a lot of issues here and there about the game and things that people were generally unhappy with about the core mechanics of the game and things like that, but generally I must say I did have a lot of fun in the gameplay. Now, the gunplay at its core was actually extremely fun. I had a really good time, particularly using the M5 and the DMR, which I forget the name of, and the Vector as well. And I think the time to kill was in a really good place. It felt very fun, it felt very satisfying. I didn't really feel like I was killed too quickly or because of TTK reasons. I felt like I was killed in fair circumstances. Now, with the armor mechanic, which I don't think should be in the game, there was the odd time where maybe it took an extra bullet to take someone out, but eventually I felt, my muscle memory was taking over and I was actually firing an extra bullet at targets, but at least getting the kill. I mean, it's not ideal. I didn't really get a whole lot of opportunity to test out the armor piercing rounds. The information that we had in the limited customization for the game, I wasn't entirely clear as to whether armor piercing had disadvantages to shooting people without armor or not, or whether it's just going to be the meta of the game is that everyone's just going to run armor and armor piercing, which kind of negates the whole point of armor. It's a whole thing. I feel like the movement was very good, but I do feel like it was lacking quite a few features from previous Battlefields. I mean, the grapple hook with McKay was fantastic. I mean, it was too fantastic. We called it McKayfield, didn't we, that beta, because of how many people were playing as McKay, because he was just the best character to use at that time, and really took advantage of extra movement and some gameplay opportunities in there as well. And of course, there were bugs, but generally I think the main bug I ran into quite a lot was the plus system resetting, but that is something that DICE have said that they've spoken about. But, in a positive vein, I think the plus system actually added a lot more to gameplay than I was personally expecting. I thought it was going to be a bit of a gimmick that you maybe used once, but actually I did find myself using it quite a bit, or maybe just trying to take advantage of that new system to sort of elevate my gameplay or give me an advantage. Biggest negative, I think we're all in agreement, is the inherent lack of teamwork between operators over the more traditional class system. I'm trying to stay positive about it. It could simply be that people didn't fully understand the operators yet, particularly in the early days. We did actually see more Falks running around as the beta went on, as people learned that she had some overpowered abilities. She was a great medic, so it meant that people were getting revived more. But hopefully, once we have the full range of specialists to play around with, there'll be a bit more variety. And I mean, we will run into the issue, I think, of specialists being able to equip all the good gear that they want. Why pick a med pack or an ammo pack when you can have a rocket launcher and make some sick montage for Reddit or for TikTok even, because that's kind of the gaming future that we live in now. It's all about those clip moments. Hopefully though, as I say, as more Battlefield veterans in particular start getting hands-on with the game, there'll be more opportunity for team play and there'll be more opportunity for teamwork in itself, so that people will actually start to work together to achieve objectives. Now, I suppose the good news is about Portal in the fact that you could play game modes that don't have any specialists at all in Portal, and you don't have to worry about that, and we're back to the class system. But to me, that shouldn't be a thing that needs to happen in order for teamwork to happen in a game. So hopefully we're going to see a bit of a development when we get hands-on with the game to people's play styles and attitudes, maybe becoming more in line with more of a teamwork orientation. Now, there have been a few posts on Reddit and YouTube that highlight a lot of features that we've actually lost from previous titles. Most of them are movement related, such as lying on your back, rolling, even other things like zeroing sniper rifles and showing where nearby medics are and crouch sprinting and things like that. Now, it is a shame that instead of building on features of previous Battlefields like Battlefield 5 did, DICE decided to almost reinvent what a Battlefield game is and what it should be, what you can and what you can't do. So I think that is quite a negative about the game for me, is that it's almost a step backwards in some senses, but a step forward in others, so we're going to have to just see how that plays out. Beta in general, it had bugs, as I said, but one of my biggest negatives wasn't even a bug, it was the UI. And some of this has been addressed, as we've seen from the more recent trailers and updated graphics and things like that, but the UI had a lot of issues. That big banner at the top that they've done is they've removed the background color, which was very jarring, but the fact that it takes up your whole top of your screen is a bit weird. I think it should be a smaller message somewhere about the enemy taking majority, instead of it being, put it by the images of the flags next to the minimap or something. Don't have it take up the entirety of the top of the player's screen. I didn't really like the colors in general and the transparency, but I am hoping that one of the things that maybe they've taken from games like Battlefield 4 is an ability to customize the UI, change the color, things like that. Maybe we'll see some of that, but I don't know, to be honest with you, but we'll just have to see how that UI works. Now, we got a brilliant trailer showcasing Hazard Zone, showing us what the game mode was like, showing us some footage, some actual cinematic gameplay. I'd be tempted to avoid saying gameplay, but we got to see what that kind of game mode might play out as. But more importantly, we got a massive blog post as well that really gave us a lot of background for the gameplay and what it involves, and the fact that you can bring in unique specialists, work in a squad of 4, try to complete an objective. It all sounds pretty good to me. One thing that did make me a little nervous was the length of the matches. There's a big discrepancy for how long it can take, so it seems like if your squad just decides to go ham, you know where the other squads spawn, you can just rush their spawn, kill them all, and then take the data drives and the objectives throughout the map. I mean, that's a valid way of playing it, but it is going to make those games a lot shorter. A lot of people have made the comparison. It seems that they were going for some sort of mix of Escape from Tarkov, sort of, but more so Hunt Showdown, and where there's, an objective and other players. I think DICE maybe could have upped the similarity to Hunt Showdown, maybe had AI bosses. I mean, I know that there's AI that you can fight in the game, but maybe have a boss, a tank or something that you have to work as a squad to take out. Anything that happens in Hazard Zone has a chance of impacting all-out warfare, so maybe if groups of players are used to working together to take out a tank, or to keep a tank running, or to blow something up, then maybe that'll happen in all-out warfare as well. Now in Hazard Zone, I think the fact that people can engage sooner, and they can get closer together, and they can make the match last 10 minutes, I mean, that's not going to take away from the tension. You're walking around and suddenly you get jumped by a squad. I mean, it's going to be exciting gameplay, and I think instead of having the Battle Royale loop of running for 20 minutes and seeing no one, this is maybe going to be action-packed, an alternative competitive game mode, a squad-based game mode going against the grain of Battle Royales. Personally, I've never been good at Battle Royales. It's not a game mode that I'm particularly interested in any case, so I'm not really bothered that DICE didn't make a Battle Royale here, but I am glad that they made an attempt to create something that's competitive, squad-based, on bigger maps for an objective. I'm an objective player. I'm glad that the objective is to go and get something rather than survive, kill everyone. It's not for me. I'm actually quite excited about Hazard Zone in itself as well. Overall, I'm curious to see how this mode plays, to the point where I might actually be looking for a regular squad to kind of play with. I think that's going to be key here. Same with any, tactical gameplay, squad-orientated shooter. It's going to be useful to have people to play with. So I'll see how that works, and I'll be curious to see if certain specialist combinations end up being the meta, and you need to bring a Falk, or you need to bring Dozer, or whatever it might be. So I'll be curious to see how that plays out as well. I mean, the negative, I suppose, here is that DICE is splitting the player base. I mean, previously DICE has split player bases due to the premium pass, which isn't really a thing anymore. There's no content locked behind financial doors, thankfully. But what we have got is maybe see a bit of a split in the community now. I don't think that's going to affect this game as much as it might have affected previous Battlefields, because it's crossplay, so there are always going to be players. No matter your feelings on crossplay, you can always turn that on to find matches faster or to find more matches, so I don't think it's going to be as big an issue. But I'll be interested to see if anyone just plays Hazard Zone. To be honest, I doubt it, but I'm hoping it's not going to be a fad game mode like Firestorm was, where people played it for the first month. It never got any attention, but I'm hoping DICE have realised that the live service needs a lot more attention to detail, and they'd be good to spend a good chunk of time in All Out Warfare, Portal and Hazard Zone, adding gameplay opportunities, new maps, new specialists, new weapons, whatever it might be. Make some stuff exclusive to Hazard Zone. I'm not talking weapons, obviously, I'm talking customization, so you can get some really cool customization outfits maybe if you play Hazard Zone, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. But I am hoping that Hazard Zone becomes something that people enjoy, and it becomes something that I maybe play semi-regularly, but probably chances are I'll be spending most of my time in All Out Warfare anyway. In my personal opinion, one of the best trailers that we've had so far about Battlefield 2042 is the recent Portal trailer. It was incredible. We got, again, I mean, DICE have been really good at communication now. They've really stepped up. This is the game mode, this is what you can do, you know, really giving us a taste for what's actually to come. We got that big blog post, and we got some examples of some of the settings that we can change as well. First and foremost, everything in that trailer looked very well detailed, lots of graphical upgrades as you'd expect from what is basically a remaster of 1942 and Bad Company and Battlefield 3. The player models looked amazing, and it was great seeing those kind of classic skins in the BF 2042 engine, so seeing classes again was really nice. It was really cool to see them, and we got to see, I think, every single one of the remastered maps. No matter how briefly, we did see a little bit of each of those maps, so that's really cool. I think this mode, Portal, is where we're going to see the Battlefield community really take off and really be at its best, creating incredible game modes, and, you know, maybe making some really truly fantastic face-offs between different factions and things like that. I think it's going to be amazing. I think this is one of the smartest things that DICE have done with this game, is they've gone, you know what, community, you want to have fun, here's 4 games, go nuts. And I'm really excited to see some of those creations, and I'm excited to create my own game modes and servers and things like that as well. It does look like we're going to have a great many options that we can change here. I mean, I'm not going to go too in depth. I know there's already videos out there that have broken down absolutely everything, but we know we can make Conquest, we can make Rush, Free-for-All, Team Deathmatch, we can choose the map rotation. There's big maps, small maps, so you can create really massive objective-based game modes here, or really small team deathmatch style things as well. You can change the distribution of human players and bots. That's going to be really cool. You could actually end up creating a server that's all bots, hardest difficulty, make some sort of really hard scenario where you're a lone survivor from a crashed helicopter and you've got to get to a certain point or something like that. You know, there's so many ideas, and I have talked about this in previous videos about my ideas, but, you know, I'm really excited to try and get that kicked off as soon as possible and really get in there and see what we can come up with. I mean, you can change things like even the ability to aim down sights, so you could create almost a GoldenEye experience, you know, small corridors, really high time to kill or something. You could really make some really fun things in here. So overall, really pumped about Portal. I think it's the thing that most of the community is excited about. Even the people that aren't necessarily excited about Battlefield 2042 as a whole are very excited about Portal. I mean, in that trailer we saw 2 B-17s blowing up some Abrams tanks. I mean, that was cool. So I'm really excited to see what we can do with that. It's probably the thing I'm the most looking forward to playing with and getting my hands on. And I suppose we have to talk about the design elephant in the room: specialists. Specialists have divided the community. I think that was inevitable. I think any form of change to the recipe is going to affect people. It's going to upset people that are particularly veterans. I understand the negatives about it, but I think people are going really overboard with saying that specialists have killed Battlefield. I don't think that's the case. I think DICE and EA are simply keeping up with trends. I mean, look at any popular shooter. There's specialists, there's operators, there's particular players with particular abilities. It's just kind of the genre for FPS games. Now, I'm not saying that it's a great thing for Battlefield, and I'm not saying I prefer it to the class system, because I don't. I think DICE could have approached this differently. They could have just had, these are your medics, they can syringe, they have to carry medics, these are your support players, they have to carry ammo boxes. You know, you could have taken the gadgets that they have and made them specific to classes. There were been discussion to the back teeth about this, so I'm not going to go too far in depth with it, but ultimately it's a video game, right? We're there to have fun. If this specialist system ends up being successful, that's great, but don't know if I want to play a game where I don't get revived, you know? So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But we did get to a good look of all the specialists. We've had some little feature videos that have gone up on Battlefield's Twitter, as well as full trailers of extra specialists, and there are some abilities that could do with being nerfed, and from what I've seen, DICE are actually trying to do that. People are making some odd complaints and I'm trying to kind of stay out of it a wee bit, but people complaining that, oh, it's become clone field. Have you ever played a Battlefield game? There's 3 engineers on your screen at any time. There's 4 people with the same face stabbing each other. It's not a new thing, and I think it's just maybe highlighted more because it is named characters, but I don't think it's that big a deal. I mean, you play any Call of Duty, it's the same thing. 6 rose skins on my screen, you know, so I think people are looking for anything to be negative about the game. And I'm not saying that I'm entirely positive, as you've heard, but I understand that people are passionate. I'm not trying to belittle you if your opinion is negative. Let's just wait and see. Overall, I am very excited about a new Battlefield. I'm curious to see how the specialist system will play out with teamwork. I do hope that teamwork will still be in there. I hope that we can use certain combinations to achieve some really cool stuff. That would be amazing. I am a little bit concerned about armor and how much armor is going to affect the time to kill of each soldier, particularly with some specialists having access to more armor, and then you can equip armor as instead of a grenade or whatever. So I think Portal is really positive. I'm really struggling to see any negative side of Portal. I mean, one slight negative is the rental server, that there has to be a player in the server for the server to run, which is kind of a shame, but maybe if we keep pushing for that, DICE might actually implement that system back in, as we had it in Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 as well. The maps are looking great. I mean, graphically they're looking fantastic. It looks like you're going to have a lot of variety in the environments that we're fighting in as well, which is fantastic. And you know, we're just going to have to wait and see how the game plays out on Friday. I'm relatively optimistic that it's going to be great. I think maybe I'll miss the class system a wee bit, but again, we'll just have to see how things play out on release. But that's been quite a long one of me talking at you guys. I hope you've enjoyed this. I just wanted to really get my opinions and thoughts, so that even if I'm the only one that readdresses them, I'd like to go back and see how I feel in a week or 2 weeks or even a month about the game. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for listening to the video and watching the video. I'm going to see you guys hopefully more regularly, maybe Mondays and Tuesdays. Look out for videos now with my new schedule. There is the potential that I might return to Twitch, maybe to stream some Battlefield 2042, but I do have some things to work out on my end. But anyway, enjoy the rest of your day. If you've enjoyed the video, leave me a like. If you've got any thoughts or comments or anything you want to discuss, you can do that in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.